The following announcement has been paid for by the New World Order.
That music hits a little bit different this week, doesn't it?
Yes, it does,
It is hard to believe. This is the 25th anniversary of the beginning of the New World Order, the day Scott Hall on Memorial Day comes out in 1996 through the crowd on Nitro. Sweet! It starts a revolution, Nick, 25 years ago. And we are going to celebrate it this week. If you haven't seen us so far, thanks for joining us right now. It's Nick, it's Ryan, it's the Job Guys. And this week, we are going to celebrate the New World Order by looking back at some of the best and some of the worst of what we believe is the greatest faction of all time, the New World Order. And today, Nick, we are going to go through our top 10 greatest moments in nWo history. And dude, this was hard to narrow down, man.
We went back and forth on the text for a while. I mean, even cutting it even to 10 was hard. I mean, you know, there was a moment we were thinking, are we going to have to do 15? Are we going to have to do 20? How do you leave this out? How do you not include this if you're including this? Very difficult. So many really major, memorable moments. I remember the 20th best nWo moment better than I remember last week's Raw, Dynamite, or SmackDown. I
no
mean,
doubt. I mean, there are lines, there are just things that happened 25 years ago that you and I and our friends still say to each other to this day all the time, at least once a week. You know, you're in Orlando, I'm in Michigan.
Hey, yo.
And at some point during the week, we will drop a line from one, whether it's Rod the Bod or whether it's the Horseman skit or whatever it is, something that the nWo did, we will say throughout the week. Just awesome. You know, the nWo is what we will tell you later, got us back into wrestling and really is the reason why we are still watching today. I mean, if it weren't for these guys changing the game,
the reason me and you are friends, right?
It really is.
I'm not kidding. Yeah, that's a story for a different time, maybe a different podcast. But
check out our other show on the nWo.
Reason why me and you know each other.
Yeah, I wouldn't even have known you if it weren't for the nWo. So here are 10 of the greatest moments, according to the Job Guys. Take it for what you will. Love it, hate it. Let us know in the comments. You got a list? Tell us your list. If you think our list sucks, tell us why. If you love it, we appreciate that as well. So we will get it going, Nick. Let's get it cracking by something I just said. At number 10, it is the Four Horsemen skit. It's August of 1997. The week previous on Nitro, Arn Anderson had to announce his retirement due to a neck injury. All the Horsemen are out there. Arn has surrendered his spot.
Not a liver spot.
In the Horsemen, and he wants to give Kurt Hennig the spot as the enforcer of the Four Horsemen. He came to WCW about a month or two previous. So the next week, it's a tribute show to Arn Anderson. He really embodies the Southeast wrestling, you know, big name for all those years. The mainstays really with the Flair in the Horsemen. So they have a tribute episode of Nitro to Arn. Well, the nWo has other plans. They come out like Saturday Night Live here, and they reenact the previous week's segment. They are mocking the Horsemen the entire time, like SNL with a political presidential debate, man. They're just mocking this thing to death. You got Six out there dressed like Flair, bawling his eyes out, crying everywhere. You got Conan dressed like Mongo McMichael, dropping the football all the time. And then you got Buff Bagwell acting cool as if he is Kurt Hennig. Well, the capper is Kevin Nash as Arn Anderson. Kevin Nash.
I was taking care of Horseman business.
It's just unbelievable, the stuff he does out here. And he, right down to pretty much just saying he's average at everything. That's all he's doing. Average wrestler, average women chasing him around,
Average your carpentry skills.
average everything. But he is an above average, far above average drinker.
Guys, the beer's on ice.
Right down to holding what is a shoot, Arn Anderson's cooler that he is holding while he is out there, and that is a shoot.
I'll take care of horseman business.
Lots of controversy with this. Apparently, the real horsemen were upset in real life. Their families and wives were upset. We can get into that and all the heat they got and all the revisionist history that has gone on with this, that everybody's saying how terrible this was and how bad taste it was. But at the time, and to me, still today, this was amazing. I mean, look at the heat it got. People really were upset at this. And look at what it did. It made Buff Bagwell. He was a middle-of-the-road dude. Now he's going to be in War Games the following month against the Horsemen. He wouldn't have been in War Games. He was a middle-to-bottom NWO dude. It made this guy to the point where he goes on to beat Lex Luger, who was the wrestler of the year in 97, 3 times, and fights him at Starrcade. It elevates Conan. And we have never seen anything like this before, Nick. And look at how many times we've seen this since. Like a million. Immediately, DX goes out and dresses up like the Nation, when Triple H was the Croc and all that. You see HBK, he's Hogan, he's Shane McMahon. DX dresses up like Shane and Vince. Miz and Maurice dressing up like Nikki and Cena. The New Day like the Wyatts. Big Show, dude, didn't he have, and Charlie Haas too, their entire gimmick was imitating old wrestlers. That was like their gimmick for a while. All because of this. And we had not seen it. It was cool. It continued like the cutting edge style of the NWO, doing things we hadn't seen, doing things maybe going over that line a little bit.
Because I got a spot.
Pressing the boundaries.
Targeting that teenage to early 20 crowd.
Yes.
It was funny. Was it kind of offensive? Maybe, but that was that era of wrestling.
Them. That's Hall and Nash. That's the NWO. That's what made the Attitude Era. Maybe doing a little something you shouldn't do.
I died.
That's what this was. And it helped build new guys. It was hilarious. It was awesome. I don't care what anybody says.
Nash stole the show with, there's one thing you always say about Arn Anderson, beside the fact he left a lot of unpaid bar tabs.
The beer's on ice.
Not my dog spot, not a liver spot, not a spot.
But my spot.
Dude, there's countless lines from this alone, man. I mean, from just this skit alone.
And Ryan, I think more people, and I could be wrong on this. This is my guess. People started to tell people you should be offended by this. And that kind of became the statement. It was funny when it happened.
Oh, yeah.
I don't remember anybody sitting around watching it with me going, well, this is a little bit over the edge. This is a little bit too much here.
Right.
They shouldn't be doing this. Everybody thought it was funny, or everybody wanted to see the Horsemen strike back. If you were,
right.
I think over time, people just kept, they shouldn't have done this. They should. And people start believing what people say.
Well, absolutely. And there's something to Flair where people want to like Ric Flair. They want to like Ric Flair. But, I mean, and he's on record. We know they weren't wrong. When they're talking about these guys did nothing but drink themselves to death every single night and chase around.
It's Arn's cooler.
Yeah.
It's his. So, I mean, if you can't be mad at them.
Yeah.
What do you think? What do the people at home who are mad think was in that cooler backstage?
Right.
Was it Lunchables?
Let's move on. Number 9, greatest NWO moments.
Number 9, we went with the NWO formation of the Wolfpac. Huge moment in time. 1998 rolls around, okay? 96 has gone through. 97's gone through. You're looking for a way to kind of spice up the NWO. NWO is having some trouble. Macho Man is not getting along with the Hulkster as we get that year kind of rolling. Nash begins to side with Macho Man. but he's going to team with Hogan at Spring Stampede 98, right? They're going to do this Roddy Piper and and the Giant baseball bat on a pole match. I know this is WCW. This is the era.
No, only Russo does those.
I know.
He's the only one. Yeah.
Yes.
Even though he didn't come for a year and a half later.
Hogan and Nash win, but Hogan turns on Nash after the match is over.
Mm-hmm.
Later in the night, Sting loses the WCW title to Randy Macho Man Savage with the help of Nash. Hogan and the Disciple jump the two of them as they're walking out the entry ramp. The NWO, black and white, they are still, come out. Norton, they see Bryan Adams, several others. They're all confused. What's going on?
The Disciple was confused, wasn't he?
Yeah. I know.
Raw.
Well,
that's my belt, brother.
Yep, they're getting him. Hogan then beats Savage the next night with the help of Bret Hart, who was sometimes in on sometime out of the NWO. You don't really he was kind of half in, half out at this point. Nash and Savage on the May 4th of Nitro, 1998, come down through the entrance. Not the entrance, the fans. They're wearing different color NWO. They're wearing red and black. They get in the ring. They bring out Conan. They're saying he's defected. They're sick of Hogan. This thing was supposed to be about a bigger purpose in their eyes. Hogan's group, or Hogan was all about him. The NWO has fractured. This was huge. I was so excited. Luger, Hennig, Rude, Dusty, Sting, they all joined the NWO. It's cool guys in this thing. It had so much promise, man. The NWO to me had been stuck in kind of a rut for a little bit there, not knowing, should we end this? We don't want to end it.
WWE's coming up, too. They got to do something here, right?
And it set up, man, and it was huge. People got behind this. They were kind of a more hip style of the NWO, if you mind me saying that. I mean, they were over. They sold a lot of T-shirts, and there was so much promise. Oh, the music was a real hip-hop song that could have been played on the radio, man. It was cool. I mean, people were a lot of fans sided with the black and white. I mean, the red and black. I stayed Hollywood. It was a huge. I mean, they were selling these shirts. The place was nuts. Yeah. They started the sing along, really. Which has carried over into today with everybody liking to sing along. This was a big moment in the NWO history. I just wish it could have worked out a lot better. Like I said, they're already rebooting a reboot by January of 99.
Well, but the big moment was the day they did it, and it was the day Luger and Sting joined as well. I mean, those crowd reactions were insane when those guys formed, and I hated it. I hated Tomato Face Sting. It made no sense for him to be, even if he was in the good guy NWO, it made no sense. Nope. But the pop from the crowd was incredible. And Conan, again, we talked about making stars. Conan becomes even higher. Yeah, he's just out there singing, but the Viva la Raza, that's
the biggest he's ever been.
Huge, singing along. The Wolfpac is in the number 8 comes from September 9th, 1996. It is Bogus Sting joining the NWO. This is the Monday night before War Games in 1996. The NWO has just been dominating for about the 2-3 months they've been around. And they keep saying, like, going toward War Games, they keep hinting that Sting is with them. His buddies starting to believe it a little bit. They're getting a little worried. They don't know what's going on with Sting, mainly Lex Luger. At the end of the show, Luger is fighting a match. You cut outside, you see the $1 Million Man talking to somebody in a limo. Referee Nick Patrick comes running down the aisle. He tells Luger, come on, you got to get in the back. You got to get in the back. We have seen this before, which we will talk about in a little bit. So Luger leaves his match, runs to the back, goes outside. It is pouring rain outside. This
Pitch
is
black.
How cool this is.
Yeah, you can't really. It's hard to get a good look at everything, right?
Exactly. And that plays into it as well. He leaves his match, comes out. He confronts DiBiase at this limo. The other door opens, and out comes Sting. He beats the crap out of Luger. Here comes the rest of the NWO. They start beating the crap out of Luger in a rain puddle in the middle of the parking lot in the cement. Dude, this is like the greatest go-home angle ever because Sting is supposed to be in the War Games in like 6 days. Well, what the heck are we going to do? He's in the NWO now. Holy crap. What the heck? And all these other dudes have joined the NWO. You know, the Giant had just turned. So you don't want to believe Sting would ever turn because he's never been a bad guy before. But dang it, all these other guys joined. Why wouldn't Sting? Now, like you said, you're outside. It's dark. You're in the rain. Jeff Farmer, who is Bogus Sting, similar build to Steve Borden, but you could always tell later on that it wasn't him. You couldn't tell here because it was dark and rainy, and we didn't know they'd not done this before. So he
comes out, he's got this kind of like not like
a
macho man coat.
He's got
like
the Sting coat on.
It was
and you don't expect it, so you don't know, oh, that's Cobra. You don't know that, and it happened so quick. Now, every other time when Shivani waits 20 minutes to go, oh, that's the Bogus Sting.
There's a Bogus Sting.
When we all knew after like 1 second, and Shivani's still selling it 10 minutes later, that's ridiculous. This was not. And they go off the air like that. This leads to Sting becoming the Crow because he's mad at his friends, and he says, screw you guys, you didn't believe me, I told you I wasn't with them, you don't trust me. Then he hangs out in the rafters for the next 14 months. Dude, this is great on like every level on earth. Again, you go outside the building, which we had not seen barely at all until the NWO. You see the NWO like putting flyers on people's windshields out in the rain. Luger walking out on a match. Like, this had a real feel to it. You had to buy the pay-per-view then and go to make sure Sting, oh, I don't want to believe this, Sting's not in. Well, there you go. They got my $30 because I got to see if Sting's in the NWO.
That was the first pay-per-view I bought. It was the first NWO pay-per-view I bought.
It made you give them your money.
Oh,
and that's what it should be. That's what TV shows should be. Perfect.
Yep. I don't know what else to add to that, Ryan. You covered it great. It was a moment in time. I am not going to spoil this, but I got on the phone after seeing that, calling my buddy, telling him, you got to get over here to watch the pay-per-view this Sunday, man. It is a moment in time that really did get me back into wrestling. You know, like I said, we'll save our short stories for another show. But man, oh man, that's right around the time I started watching religiously.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yep. I think everybody did. And that was early, September, like school had just started. So now you're back with your buddies and you're all talking about it and word of mouth. And that's when it really blew up. That fall of 96, man, it's when it just went to another level.
To be a wrestling fan.
It sure was, and it was for quite a while. All right, man, number 7, Nick. We're going a completely different direction here. We're jumping forward in time a little bit.
This is the Hogan Rock, right? In 2002, at the No Way Out pay-per-view, NWO, right? The following night, Monday night, Hogan hits the ring. He tells the fans they can kiss his what do you call it? Money signs there, man. And he's the reason they are all here. He made wrestling, the nobody's bigger than me speech. Says he's the biggest star of the WWF today, past, present, future, history. I am the man. Nobody could be bigger than Hollywood. Pause for a second. Do you smell what the Rock's cooking? Hits. And all of a sudden, the Rock starts coming down to the ring. It is awesome. This is kind of, and I always say this, worlds collide. A moment in time you're about to see that 2-3 years previous, you never thought this was going to ever be possible see these two guys in the ring.
No.
The Rock circles, they move slowly closer, and the Rock takes off his glasses, and they make eye contact for the first time. And I'm getting chills here on my arm just talking to you, man. This moment in time goes with like Reagan's take down that wall, Mr. Gorbachev moment here, man. That's how bad this is, how awesome this is, man.
Same thing.
It is basically, you know. And the Rock says the Rock Hogan same ring. Kind of starts then telling that he left the people, the people didn't leave him, whatever. But then he gets to the moment in time that I love. You talk about headlining WrestleMania after WrestleMania after WrestleMania. Well, Hulk Hogan, The Rock says, how do you feel about headlining one more WrestleMania with The Rock?
And right in his face.
The place goes nuts, man. And The Rock and Hogan staring back and forth at each other. And this is going to go on for over a minute.
Yeah.
And, dude,
looking at the crowd.
And I'm going to say this because if anybody was a fan of how the Grinch stole Christmas, it was like that right there. Like the Grinch's heart, a small chant starts growing in the background, Sloke. Hogan, Hogan, Hogan. And before you know it, the place is chanting Hogan. He's the heel here. This is The Rock. He's the biggest guy in the industry maybe right now. Then it quiets down and you start hearing Rocky, Rocky. And then the place starts chanting Rocky and they're just staring face to face at each other. Yes or no? Yes or no? And Hogan finally looks back at him. They say a few words. Hogan says yes. Hogan tells The Rock, it will be a pleasure. It extends his hand for the arm shake. The Rock shakes his hand back. And Hogan says, and by the way, Rock, good luck, because you're going to need it. And The Rock, he turns to walk away. The Rock pulls him back. Not more than you, brother. And then he freaking rock bottoms him, leaves Hogan laying in the ring, and the feud's off. This was a moment in time, man. Everybody was talking. I think even people that might have kind of been trending out as the WCW, WWF invasion angle kind of really bummed us out. This kind of brought them back in, man. We're going to get Hogan and The Rock. And to me, Slope, the last thing I'll end, when I think of this, and you're going to start to see a pattern here, the biggest WrestleMania matches, Hogan Andre, Hogan Savage, Hogan Warrior, Austin Michaels Tyson, Austin Rock, Rock Hogan. And it's one of the biggest moments in the WWF in their history of wrestling.
Moving on to number 6, The Outsiders. Powerbomb Eric Bischoff through a table at the Great American Bash, 1996. Now this, Nick, is important for like a million reasons. The biggest, it changed wrestling as we know it, like everything the nWo has done. This could even be higher because of what it did. We have never seen anybody outside of like ECW take a bump like this, let alone not a wrestler. The freaking president of the company gets powerbombed off the stage through a table. Not through a crash pad, not through whatever. This is a wood table that he got thrown through. And if there was a crash pad under it, he took a horrible landing. So I don't think that crash pad helped him whatsoever. 10 feet below. This is the president of real life president of WCW. Vince McMahon had not taken any bumps at this point yet. We saw Vader rough up Gorilla Monsoon a little bit previous during the year, but he's a worker. Granted, he's 1,000 years old at that point, but he's a wrestler.
And it was just basically a squash in the corner.
Yeah, he just kind of roughed him up a little in the corner. This is an ECW style bump at this point. We had not seen anything like this. And again, it's the Outsiders. They had just come in a month, not even a month previous. And it makes you think, oh my gosh, this could be real. These guys really could be trying to take over WCW. Vince really might have sent these guys down here. Now, it's also important because of that right there. They were threatened with a lawsuit. These guys didn't even have names yet at this point. It was just the Outsiders. And I think maybe they had just gotten the names Hall and Nash, but they didn't have names. He's still out here. Hall is still out here doing his Razor Ramon voice, calling people Chico, yo, but he's talking with the accent.
Hey, yo.
They didn't even have names yet. So they had to come out and say, do you work for the WWF? And they said, no. And they were supposed to say who the third man was for the Bash of the Beach right here. They didn't want to do it. You don't jack us around, Chico. Boom, drops him, toast. Just an unbelievable moment. And I'll say, as I've said for the previous 3 that I've done, never seen it before. Couldn't believe what you were seeing. It's that renegade style. You never know what the heck's going to happen. All wrapped into one. I mean, no, the NWO is no holds barred.
It felt real. It was awesome.
Real.
It really did. It felt real. It just illustrated these guys, and he told you a couple weeks earlier, or maybe a week earlier, we ain't here to play. The measuring stick just changed around here. And I know it sounds joking now, but they were showing this is not a joke. We are here to destroy you.
All right, number 5. Once again, I mean, we're groundbreaking here. We're doing every single thing gets bigger and better. And, man, this one might be as groundbreaking as anything, Nick. Number 5.
Number 5, The Tonight Show, Jay Leno, Hollywood Hogan, Eric Bischoff, July 98, is going to illustrate how mainstream this really has become as far as pop culture goes. Late night show number 1 in its air against the shows it's going up against in 98. I looked it up. 5.8 million viewers. David Letterman, 3.5 million. Okay.
Leno was on top of the world.
He was the top guy. He was beating not only the late night show, Politically Incorrect with Bill Maher, Late Night with Conan O'Brien. From 95 to 2012, Jay Leno is the number 1 guy in that time slot for that programming against what he's going up against. This is huge mainstream. Eric Bischoff.
The Tonight Show is a brand, even till today, even though Late Night Show. When you say Tonight Show, everybody from age 100 to 10 knows what the Tonight Show is, whether they think it's Johnny Carson, Jay Leno, or Jimmy Fallon. They know that tonight that is a brand like Coca-Cola.
Eric Bischoff starts doing these skits because they're setting up this match at Road Wild, Sturgis. It's supposed to be DDP and Jay Leno versus Eric Bischoff and Hollywood Hulk Hogan. And Bischoff does, and I thought they were pretty funny, where he does these skits and he butchers Jay's jokes, and he's trying to show how easy and not funny the Jay Leno show is. And they end up, Jay Leno starts the Tonight Show out. And this is for the first, I was watching the time, 10 minutes of the show, just counting the show time. There were commercials in there, so it's going to be longer than actual 10 minutes. He's dogging the NWO, dogging Hogan, dogging Bischoff on the show. And then all of a sudden, Hogan and Bischoff come walking through the audience down to the show, and they get right up in Jay Leno's face, and they're jawing back and forth, going at it. And Hulk Hogan shoves, and I mean, he shoves him and shoves Jay Leno. Leno comes back, slaps Bischoff. The security come out, pull them apart.
They take Leno off his own show.
It was unreal. Leno had earlier brought out a puny Hogan. I don't know if you remember that on the bike, and he's got this puny
a couple
guy.
times.
Yeah, and he's making fun of him. But they took Leno off for safety. Eric Bischoff is the one that tells you we're going on a commercial break. Eric Bischoff says, "Welcome to the NWO show." And when they come back, there's Bischoff, feet up in the air on Leno's desk. Leno nowhere to be seen. Hogan sitting in the guest chair. This is out of control. The NWO is taking over the Tonight Show. Leno comes back out with security, almost distracts Hogan. Page, DDP, for the fans home, come out, hits him in the back, drops him, gets on Hogan, starts blasting him. They have this thing up on the stage. Bischoff gets escorted out, and I'll say harshly, it looked great. It looked like they were really throwing him out.
Yeah.
Hogan stands up flustered a little bit. The cops escort him out a little softer. You know, obviously he looks like he's not happy, but he's not wasn't getting thrown out of the building like Bischoff was. And then DDP comes back on. They come back from commercial break. This is the beginning of the Tonight Show. The beginning is where you grab your audience. All this is taking place in the first 10, 15, 20 minutes of the Tonight
midnight.
Show.
Before midnight. Before people go to bed to get to work the next morning.
This is unreal, man. And then they go, and DDP talks Leno into it, saying, you know, we can do this. We can take them.
Right.
The match kind of becomes official there on the Tonight Show, pumping the pay-per-view at Sturgis. I just thought this was the hugest thing. I mean, these people are on major mainstream shows, Sloke, and it doesn't get bigger than the Tonight Show.
Dude, think about this, man. Like, you can say whatever you want about the Jay Leno match and all that. He shouldn't have been in the ring. I agree with all of that. That's garbage. And some of those skits with Bischoff were a little long. They didn't need to be 20 minutes long. But just get rid of all of that. My dad loves the Tonight Show. I love the Tonight Show. My dad at that point was probably 50 years old or something, whatever he was. He watched the Tonight Show every night and falls asleep watching it, or he watches the monologue and then goes to sleep. There's probably 3 million other dudes just like that. They're watching the monologue, and the monologue is all about the nWo. And then, or they turn on something else, and they turn on NBC, and they're in commercial. And they come back from commercial to see Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff, who they probably have no clue who that is, with his feet up on Jay's desk, leaning back with his feet up. Can you imagine just being some guy or some girl who said, oh, gosh, I forgot, Leno's on. Click it on, come out of commercial, and you see Hulk Hogan has taken over the Tonight Show. Just think about that. Awesome. What is that dude doing? He's like, what the heck? Is that Hulk Hogan? Is he a bad guy? Is he beat up Jay? What happened here? That's incredible. And I think this is a moment people don't remember because maybe they didn't see it. And WCW was terrible. And I think they did show this, but they were so bad about when they were in the mainstream, then they didn't tell you about it. They didn't pump it up. But I think people forget about this and how big of a deal. You cannot get any bigger than the Tonight Show, man. That is big time. That
they're running clips of your show on the Tonight Show.
Yes. And then for the next couple of weeks leading up to the match, they're talking about it.
Right.
But that every moment night there, just that image of Hogan and Bischoff with his feet on the desk, that image right there.
And he'll go back on the Tonight Show in November of that year after he was on TV Guide.
Another one that is massive along the same lines comes in at our number 4. And it's that dirty dog, Rod the Bod, Rodzilla, Dennis Rodman joining the nWo. And I think people, his ascent was so quick and then his fall was quick. I think people forget how big this was. I think last year's Jordan documentary probably helped a little bit, helping people remember how big Dennis Rodman is and was. You hear about Tyson all the time, and that was bigger than this, but not by much. This was huge, and this was the precursor to Mike Tyson. I don't care what anybody says. I was there. I lived it. I was a Bulls fan. Dennis Rodman, for a very short period of time, was bigger than Michael Jordan on a mainstream level. Maybe not basketball fans. On a mainstream level, it might have been a 24-minute time. Dennis Rodman was bigger than Michael Jordan for about that long. He's dating Madonna. He's dating Carmen Electra, every other hot girl on earth. He had a book. He had the hair different colors. He had the tattoos. First athlete really
Movies.
with the tattoos all over. He was in movies. He's in commercials. He is on everything. He is on Entertainment Tonight.
Married
every
himself.
single night. He's on Entertainment TV. All these magazine shows that were out back then, like we have today, Extra or whatever is on nowadays. He was on every one of those.
Not to mention he's
every
on the
single-
greatest basketball team of the 90s.
And he's playing alongside the greatest basketball player ever. They are the walking rock stars. And he literally was a rock star. He's hanging out with Pearl Jam, who is massive every single night, playing alongside Jordan, winning 3 straight NBA titles. This guy could not be bigger. And all of a sudden, the NWO announces he's with them. He shows up at Uncensored 1997, comes out with Hogan. They had like some kind of elimination, convoluted match, whatever. Hogan comes out. Rodman is with him. And they allowed cameras to follow them down the ring. It's like paparazzi. Hogan and Rodman are trying to get to the ring, and there's cameras all around them. That image with that stupid giant hat on he had, holding the belt, because Hogan gave him the belt to make it look, because Hogan's selling, man. He's working. He knows how it is. So Rodman's carrying the NWO belt to the ring. That picture was on every news, every entertainment news, Sports Center, everything. He ends up wrestling a match at Bash at the Beach. He and Hogan against Luger and the Giant. That was big. Didn't get the buy rate they thought they would get, but it's the middle of July, whatever.
I would say, like Bad Bunny as well, I'm not comparing the two matches at all. Rodman did pretty well.
He did better than everybody thought.
That's it. He did better than people thought he would.
Yep, he sure did. He sure did. He did way better than everybody thought. And that association then continued. He would pop up here and there. He was at numerous other events, Nitros, the famous one, which we didn't know at the time. But the Bulls are in the middle of the playoffs. Rodman just leaves, misses practice, shows up at the Palace of Auburn Hills in Detroit, misses practice. They got a playoff game the next day. He's on Nitro in Detroit that day. And then they again fought at Bash at the Beach the next year as well, against Karl Malone, by the way. This led to the NWO being in the stands at playoff games, which NBC would then cut to the crowd. And there's Hogan and Bischoff sitting in the crowd watching an NBA playoff game because their brother, that dirty dog, Rod the Bod, was there.
And he fit. He had that bad boy attitude. That I'm a rule breaker. I don't conform. I do what I want when I want to who I want. You know, it was perfect. It was a match made in heaven there. One of my favorite closing segments to Nitro. Eric Bischoff joins the NWO at number 3. This is the birth of the evil boss, man. This is one of the hugest moments in wrestling. This is a moment we'll talk about later that other companies have stolen.
For the next 20 years.
Yes, they did. Dude, Eric Bischoff, he's the face announcer, president, what do you want to call him, of WCW. Since the Piper Hogan confrontation at Halloween Havoc, Piper came out after the match, confronting Hogan, telling him to cool out, mind yourself, relax, I'm as big as you. Bischoff had been telling us week after week, I'm trying to get a hold of this guy, man. I can't get a hold of Roddy Piper. His agents, his managers, where are they? And Hogan kept telling us it's because he's scared. He doesn't want none of Hogan. Hogan, I kicked his butt back in the 80s. I'm kicking his butt. I'll kick his butt today. November 18th, 1996 on a Nitro. It's the final second. Bischoff's going to get in and address the crowd and then tell us the situation and why he can't bring Piper in. He's tried to reach him, his attorneys, his agents. He's unable to. Piper's music hits. And Bischoff, the guy doesn't get enough credit. And this is coming from someone whose job, he is very good at what he does. And he sells like a nervous wreck in that ring.
Yeah.
He's going back like, oh, crap, I did not know he was going to be here.
Yeah.
And Piper gets in the ring, and I love the quote. You slap Rowdy Piper and you didn't get a hassle. You're a liar, says LL Cool J. You know, and he starts calling them this liar. Everybody's like, what is going on?
What's he talking about?
Wait, what is he talking about? Piper starts asking Bischoff about coming to see him in Portland. Did you fly first class or did you fly coach? You know, what airline were you on? You know, and he goes up. When you came up to my ranch, is the driveway, is the road paved? Is it dirt? Is it dirt? Is it crooked? Is it straight? Bischoff, I don't remember. And you can almost hear the gasp in the fans, and they start to see it. What do you mean you don't remember?
Right. You said you were just there.
You were just there. Then right away, the giant from behind comes in and grabs Rowdy Piper. The rest of the nWo comes down. And in a shocking moment, Hogan walks over to what will become known as Eazy-E, Eric Bischoff, hugs Bischoff. Trash starts filling the ring as it always did in those days with the nWo. The nWo holds him back. Hogan's getting ready to unleash on Piper. Security comes in. They did a good job here not letting these two really get, you know, because you don't want to see them get at each other too much.
No, not too much.
The fans go nuts. Piper keeps going for Hogan. Bischoff is booed out of the place, and he turns out to be this perfect freaking heel. So good. DiBiase, you almost feel bad for him because he just writes him right out of the nWo.
It really did write him off, but this was bigger. It
was bigger. Piper announces he will fight Hogan at the end of this. This is just oh my God. If you were a WCW fan, the guy who controls our company is with the nWo.
Now he works for us.
Now we know where the power lies, brother. And it was just a sweet moment. I mean, a shocking moment. I went nuts as an nWo. And I was like, yeah, he's with us. And it is, and it gets the credit because it is. It is Vince McMahon, Austin, the evil boss. That's the credit that everybody's given. That's always this is the birth of the evil boss, which is, again, we talked about with the Horseman segment earlier. This is an angle that never has died since then. That's how influential to me this moment was in time.
Yeah, well, and dude, go a little further on that, because not only is it the birth of the evil boss, there was no boss. Like, you had a Jack Tunney, or you may have had a Nick Bockwinkel who may have been a president or something like that. Or you'd have like these mythical presidents that only showed up once every 6 months or something. They'd make some announcement on camera, then they're gone. They weren't there every week. They didn't start every show with a 20-minute segment. There was none of that. Like, for the longest time, most people didn't know Vince McMahon owned the company. And then finally they did, but he never did anything. And he didn't talk like he was the owner. He was the announcer. And he just talked like, hey, Vince McMahon at ringside. Blah, blah, blah. He didn't talk like, Vince McMahon who owns the place and I'm calling the action today. Now, Bischoff, you did know he was the president. You did know that, even though he was still announcing at the time. But we had never... Yeah, we had never seen someone get involved. Again, Tunney was there to like announce something, then he leaves. Contract signing, then he leaves. This dude is involved in the day-to-day responsibilities. Oh, and he's trying to ruin the company he's in charge of, or he's trying to create a coup to take it over for himself from Ted Turner. I mean, groundbreaking stuff, so groundbreaking that the WWF then did it for the next 20 years with every member of the McMahon family, with Teddy Long, with Shawn Michaels, with the Mick Foley, with
Laurinaitis.
Johnny Laurinaitis. I mean, go down the stinking list.
Ric Flair was brought in as the evil boss.
Do you know that there are some people alive right now that don't know that you can't have wrestling without an evil boss?
I would assume.
There are. Like, if you're like a 15-year-old kid, and maybe they haven't had it the last year or two, but they don't know what life is like without a commissioner or a general manager or whatever. They don't know what that is. And that's a bad thing, but all of that started right here. It like blew your mind because you didn't even think that was possible. That's like Babe Ruth coming out and playing for the Pistons. You're like, what? That's not possible.
I will never forget when he questioned him about his road.
Yeah.
And he said, I do not remember. It was a moment when I think every fan just sat up in their chair. Like, what did he just, because the light bulb went off at that point. He's with them. Like, holy crap. Like, what, like, if you're a WCW fan, oh my God. Like, this is the worst. He can swindle you out about, whatever you're going through your head.
Yeah.
If you're a nWo fan, you were like, oh yeah. The balance of power is still shifting around here.
You're looking at it. Yeah, and then, the next week, I think he said, you're either with us or you're against us. You have 30 days to join the NWO or you'll be, castrated or whatever he said.
WCW.
Bagwell comes right down.
Anti-WCW, Wall Street.
And number 2 is one that, to me, man, you could go real long-winded on it. There's one particular moment that stands out, but it's really the entire show. And number 2 to me is Rey Mysterio getting thrown like a lawn dart into the side of the trailer outside of Nitro. Now, you can make an argument, dude, this is number 1 because that image stands out. And it's not just that image, though. It is this entire evening. Ray comes out of the trailer. The NWO is wreaking havoc in the back. Ray jumps from the railing. Nash grabs him. He catches him, just throws him face first. The kid falls 7 feet down onto the concrete. But this right here, this was, 2 weeks after the NWO formed. I believe
July 29th.
July 29th, 1996. They're at the MGM studios. They're in the back. This really told you, oh, crap, this is what we're in for right here, because we hadn't really seen them wreak havoc yet until here. There's a 6-man tag match going on in the ring. Sting, Luger, and Savage are taking on Flair, Benoit, and McMichael, the Horsemen. Jimmy Hart runs out. Now, Jimmy Hart is like a manager in the Dungeon of Doom at this point. He hates all these guys.
All these guys hate each other. Yeah. All these guys.
Yeah. They don't like each other. They don't want nothing to do with each other. Jimmy Hart runs down and he's screaming in terror. And here he is like the leader of like some evil nightmare faction, but he's scared out of his mind. Oh, you got to go. You know how he talks. And so the dudes, they just stop the match and they go to the back. We get to the back, and the camera gets there just in time to hear baseball bats hit the ground. You don't actually see what happens, but you see Arn Anderson, Buff Bagwell laying out. I think Scotty Riggs is in there too. They are on the ground. You just hear the bats hit the ground, and they are laying there like they're dead. And it's Hall and Nash. They've laid them out in the parking lot. Here come the rest of these guys. They just destroy everybody. Ray jumps out of the trailer to try to help. He gets lawn darted into the side of the thing. They get in a limo. They start to take off. Savage runs and jumps on top of the limo through the moonroof and tries to crawl into the limo while this thing is flying down. Savage is hanging on top of this thing. For the next, 45 minutes, they tried to clean this up. You got bodies everywhere. The girls are back there. Liz and Woman are screaming and yelling. You got people getting shoved into ambulances. Never have we seen something like this at all. To the point where for a shoot, people were calling the police. The real cops showed up because they thought they saw a mugging on live television. This told you, whoa, these dudes are some bad dudes. Holy crap. What has Hogan gotten himself into? Hogan's the worst bad guy ever. Hall and Nash. Dude, these guys are some dudes.
I'd like to
We're
see
off for the next 2 years.
I like people to remember sometimes it's so simplistic. You don't have to nuke people 45,000 times in a match. You drop an aluminum bat on the steel concrete.
Yeah. You know the damage was done.
You didn't even see them get hit with the bats.
Didn't even see it.
You didn't need to. Everybody has the mindset. I can equate aluminum bat hitting a human is going to be horrible. They didn't need to show it to you. They're already down. It was beautiful. They got baseball bats.
They got
the
baseball
coward jerks.
Coward jerks. Zabisco. Okay, so many lines from this. He had the lawn dart. He threw him like he was a dart.
Yep. That was great.
They got baseball bats. Those coward jerks.
Ryan, and what was eerie? They mentioned, but they said they have a fourth man. As soon as they said that, I was watching. I came in. I wasn't watching religiously. I caught a couple moments in time, like Hall's debut and like this. I didn't realize how great it was until I really got into it.
They're moving
the
forward.
Fourth man, is he out there? The camera starts to pan, and as a fan at home, you're like, Hogan turned. Is he back? Is the fourth man standing back there?
Yeah.
Like,
is it one of us?
Is it one of us?
Is it someone pretending to help right now?
Yeah, and then you hear Heenan or somebody. I only saw two. You know, and they're selling this so well. They're being stretchered out. The announcers they go quiet for a short periods of time, and they don't oversell it. They don't undersell it. It's really well done by that team on that night.
Yeah, it's one of, I think I heard Bischoff on his podcast talk about it went too long. I don't think it did and you got your intended, like what you intended. People thought it was real, so they called the real cops. Like, it wasn't too long because you can't that's how you know it's fake, when a dude flies off a cage or something and then they just pick him up. They don't put a neck thing on him. They just throw him in a thing and then they're out of here in 10 seconds.
He's been burned alive, but we got to go to commercial.
Yeah, he's been burned alive. See you tomorrow night. Yeah,
one more for the good guy.
No, they took their time, and not only did they take their time getting the guys into the ambulance, selling the injuries, they took their time and they sold forward. There's another man. And like Ray and the other guys who are laying out, they're rolling. Are you okay? Yeah. There was another guy. There was four of them. It was just beautiful TV. It could be the best TV they've done.
Sting and Flair get into the same ambulance and ride away. Sting and Flair.
Yep.
I mean, and you see confusion in the back. You see people starting to point fingers. As a horrible event happens, blame starts being cast.
The Horsemen were bad guys.
Yep.
And Sting, Luger, and Savage were the good guys. Everyone is coming together to take down this. No doubt. Number one, Nick, the obvious, the reason why we are here, the greatest moment in nWo history is
Hollywood Hogan, Hulk Hogan coming down, Bash at the Beach 96, and joining the New World Order. There is no nWo without Hulk. Like, I don't care what anybody says, Sting, Bret Hart, whomever else was being rumored to go in this thing. Would it have been cool? Sure. Yeah. Would it have been an interesting angle? Yeah, no doubt.
For a little bit.
Would it have been the phenomenon that it was? No, it wouldn't have.
Would you be wearing a hat and a shirt and a background and all that right now?
Would I have been wearing this? When we had to mask up, this is the first mask I bought, baby. I was masking up in 2020 nWo style.
And you know what? That mask isn't for COVID. That's for beating people. That's in the back.
And I think it was Shivani again, because he does it, and I don't even know if he meant to. Hulk hits the rope, goes back in the turnbuckle area, comes out, leg drop Savage. While he's in the air, Shivani, almost like he was completely caught off guard, says, Hulk, he has turned. Hulk Hogan has betrayed WCW. And the announcers start going, I hope you love it. You just sold your soul to the devil. Hulk Hogan, you can go straight to hell.
It might be the best night of Shivani's career.
It was awesome. Hogan throws out the ref. Outsiders get back in the ring. Scott Hall makes the 3 count. And then, I don't care. You know what? You can take your pipe bomb or whatever you want to else calls. This is the #1 promo that has ever been cut, in my opinion, in professional wrestling. And that's why it's #1. Hulk Hogan, the prayers, the training, and the vitamins, dude, gets on the mic and tells Mean Gene, you better tell these people to shut up if you want to hear what I have to say. Right there, you just did Hulk Hogan just freaking say that?
Yeah.
And the trash starts hitting the ring. You can call this the New World Order of Wrestling, brother. He starts talking about how he built the WWF, how he made them a monster, how he became bigger. And then he came down here to talk turkey with Trillionaire Ted. And, oh, my God, you fans can stick it, brother, is just an unbelievable line from – and simple. So simple.
It's all you need.
If
you
it
don't
wasn't,
need to go over the top.
If it wasn't for Hulk Hogan, you fans wouldn't be here. If it wasn't for Hulk Hogan, Eric Bischoff would still be selling what was it?
Out of a truck
in Minneapolis.
I was selling out the world.
Well, those Johnny-come-latelys were still bumming gas to put in their car
to get to high school,
brother.
The biggest icon in wrestling.
An amazing speech, and it works because this guy was the WWF.
Because it's true.
Yes. He is as big as wrestling itself at that point. He is wrestling. And he joined up with these 2 guys who, although they weren't coming from up north, who knows more about that big business up north than me, brother? Oh my God, shockwaves through the industry. And this is why it works, because he is the greatest in wrestling, and he turned heel, and we had never seen this before.
Mm-hmm.
And people were ready to hate him. They were ready.
They already were.
Yes.
Yeah.
But now he's not. Doesn't have a cross in his chest. Maybe he still has, but not the prayers, the training, the vitamins, the good guy waving the American flag. Now I can full-fledged boo him, and I can feel okay about it.
Well, when Cena, everybody wanted Cena to turn. I'm like, all right, yeah, he's got to turn, but he's got to do it Hogan style. He can't just turn and be like, oh, I'm a bad guy now. Fans suck, whatever. What made it work was because it was Hulk Hogan. We had never seen it. The stuff you just said, he's like, I did it all for the money. Screw the kids. Screw you. I don't care. But then you follow it up with all the other stuff we just said. A couple of weeks later, these guys are hitting people with bats. They're getting taken away in ambulances. You're not just saying bad things in the ring and then fighting a wrestling match. You're really hurting people. You're really doing bad stuff.
And Bobby Heenan's prophecy came true. What he said it. What have I been telling you all these years? And that he was right. This has been about him. And then you look back through all the feuds in time, and you can even, it's fine. Hogan Savage, who's the bad guy?
Yeah.
Hogan Andre, who's the bad guy?
Yeah.
You look at some of these, who's the bad guy? Was it Hogan not giving Andre the shot? Was it Hogan stealing Macho's girl? You look through.
There's a lot of shoot in this. A lot.
It was awesome.
In the people reading the sheets back then, you heard about the Bret Hart thing. Oh, he's not a good guy because of the Bret Hart thing. You heard about maybe he was holding people down and using his creative control and da-da-da. So a lot of people already did think that it was all about him, not only in storyline, in real life. And that helped them buy into this even more. He is a bad guy. Yeah, you want to know why he's so good at this? Because that's the way he really is, dang it. That's the way people felt. That's the energy people had. And it was just brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
You had to watch. there's two eras in wrestling that are the hugest eras, and it has the same man involved in both eras.
He was at top of both of them.
Yep.
He was on top of both of them. Yeah, and I agree with you. I think if it's not the best promo of all time, it might be the most important promo of all time. I mean, he just knocked it out of the park. And it set the stage for the rest of the way to go. And, you know, they had a good run. It didn't end the way we all wanted it to, but there's numerous reasons for that. But dang it, nobody sells more shirts than these guys do. I don't care what, if they're still selling Bullet Club shirts in 20 years, get at me. I don't think that's going to
I have my NWO glasses. I mean, how much paraphernalia do you need to have, man? I got a hat. I got a Hogan shirt.
Buy the shirt.
You want to go park my car, Ryan? There's my keychain. NWO.
Well, yeah, that's because you're for life, brother.
For life.
This ain't some catchphrase we're walking around saying, Ryan.
That's right.
For life.
Yep, you are definitely for life, brother. There is no doubt about that, man. Dude, this is great. If you haven't checked out our other ones, we have just a memories, just how we got back into wrestling and how the NWO made us wrestling fans even to today, which we mentioned at the top of the show. Go watch that one. That's a good one, man. Relive some of those memories with us. And maybe you had the same story. Again, that's how you and I met. That's how you and I became friends because of the NWO. Because, don't get, that's going to turn into a rest stop and all this, and we don't need that getting out there now. Let's calm down.
Horseman business.
But yeah, go check that one out. We also have other ones coming this week. We're going to have the worst NWO members. I know people think a lot of people should be on that list. That was a tough one to narrow down as well. And we've got other stuff coming this week as well. We are celebrating the 25th anniversary of the greatest of all time, the absolute greatest. Hope you can watch it. Join us. Give us your thoughts. For life, brother. See you next time.
Is Andre really your dad, man?
For life.